It's October 14th and this is This Week in Tabletop RPG. A new Dungeons & Dragons documentary has been announced by Hasbro and Entertainment One. This will be directed by Joe Manganiello and Kyle Newman, featuring RPG historian John Peterson. The documentary is set for a 2024 release to coincide with the 50th anniversary of the release of Dungeons & Dragons. Friend Computer has allowed Mongoose Publishing to officially announce Paranoia Perfect Edition in what they say has been called the worst kept secret. I mean, a secret so poorly kept that I myself have interviewed WJ McGuffin about it on our Not D&D podcast back in July. The Kickstarter campaign plans to go live on October 28th later this month. Guillotine Press has announced a new tabletop RPG based on the Assassin's Creed franchise. Players will create a modern-day character called the Descendant and then relive the lives of multiple ancestors in different time periods. The game's lead designer is Francesco Nepatello, designer of the One Ring RPG, and will launch next year in 2023. But that's not the only video game franchise that's getting an RPG. As Open Sesame Games have announced a 5e role-playing game based on the Viking strategy video game Northgard. Open Sesame also states they are looking at ways to integrate the RPG into the board game version of Northgard Uncharted Lands, which released this year after raising €500,000 on Kickstarter back in 2021. The role-playing game has a planned crowdfunding campaign coming in the first quarter of 2023 next year. And whilst we're on the subject of video games, Turk Games, developers of the Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, was acquired by Wizards in 2019 and will now be known as Invoke Studios. They are working on a new game which is derived from Dungeons & Dragons. We don't have any details available about the game or its release date, but the press release states that the studio currently has 80 employees and it's looking to expand to over 200 by 2025, which likely indicates plans to release around that time in 2025. If you'd like to hear these stories discussed in more detail, you can listen to Morris's unofficial Tabletop RPG Talk podcast, or you can read all about it on enworld.org. I'm Jessica, and that was This Week in Tabletop